Welcome back. This series we're going to be looking at Ohyo Kumites. I think this is a subject where a lot of us in the team had more discussion than any other. You know, the two gentlemen that helped me do this and the lady was basically saying, yes, you should do it. I said, well, I haven't done it for that long. You know, it's been some 20 odd years since I last practiced in earnest doing Ohyo Kumites. That said, I do dip into those Ohyo Kumites with my students when I'm trying to explain something that possibly I can't do using the grading syllabus that possibly we use at the moment. So I do dip into those. So yes, we will be going through Ohyo Kumites, even though we don't use them in the organisation that I belong to. We don't use Ohyo Kumites because we have this karate no sentenashi, no first attack. But I'm sure if you wanted to do something, irrespective of whether it's karate or something in life, you can always come up with justification to do that certain subject, to do that purchase, or whatever it is. You can always find the reason, the rationale to do it. So if you're looking for these Ohyo Kumites as a grading purposes, then I'm sorry, they won't be for grading purposes, because I haven't trained in them for 20 odd years. They're not part of our syllabus now, but I shouldn't forget them that I've done in the past. So what you will have is a mixture between what I did do and what I learnt of some really good instructors, but also adding in and including those things that I've learned since then with Irimi, Kazushi, Taisabaki, all sorts of other things. So you will see me adding things. Those of you who have already practiced Ohyo Kumites, you will see me adding things in or taking some things out. That's the only way I could justify doing these Ohyo Kumites. So again, if you're looking for them as a grading syllabus, possibly not the best thing. Again, you should always refer to your sensei at the club before you do these Ohyos. You know, try them. But if he has some objections or she has some objections to it, then obviously have respect for your instructor and go along with whatever decision they make. All right, so this will be a combination of Ohyo Kumites and the syllabus that I do now. So, as I say, it won't be pure Ohyo Kumites. It will be a mixture. You know, things change as time goes along. So, you know, maybe this is where Ohyo Kumites possibly would have ended up looking like. I don't know. But so please bear with me. As I say, they're not pure Ohyo Kumites. They are based on them. So enjoy. All right. Hiya! Right. Ja! So the first thing that you will have noticed is that I will be doing okuriashi. Okuriashi. And then a yumiashi. Reason for that is if I just do a yumiashi, stop here. If I do a yumiashi, then my distance is way too far away. So to get into correct distance, to even have a chance to make contact, is I will do okuriashi. And I'm looking for this guard, because if I just move forward with the okuriashi, I'm going to go straight into the fist. So I want to be searching, I want to be looking for this. Just like an ant or a spider with its antennas trying to feel, to reach out. So kriashi, then ayumiashi. And again, it's enough force to try and get the weight off the front leg. Then we use ashibarai, different types of ashibarai. This is a sweep here. So it's more of an attack, and I'm taking him this way. Usually you would just do gakuzuki, but I move in, covering with my arm, taking this arm, and namizuki, and already covered down here, just in case there's a kick. And we are, and up. So, ashibarai. Ashibarai with the instep, ashikubi. So this is a sweep. So the way that I interpret it is that you are sweeping, you are moving them away from you. So here it's attack. And because I've got the weight slightly off it, it's easier to do. If you are a beginner, if you are beginning to learn this, then it can put some strain on this muscle here. And if they've got a lot of weight on the front, it's not going to happen. So you really need to make sure that you've gone in as far as you can to try and get them to move away, to actually do the ashibarai. If you find that still, maybe their mass is bigger than yours, so then instead of using this muscle, use this one. But that means you have to turn your hip into it more. So when I do the gakuzuki, I'll be using like a very low moshigeri. But at least then you'll be able to do the technique on somebody that's possibly a lot heavier than you, or you haven't quite got their weight off the front foot. Yeah? So you're using a bigger muscle as well to drop, to get the hip lined up with it, and to go in. Yeah? Obviously the downside that is you've really committed to put your hip in, and you've really committed to go that way. Whereas if it's weight off the foot and it's ashibarai, I can still keep my center to put it back in. So really, Ohyo Kumite number 1 and number 2, in my interpretation, is that you are learning how to do an ashibarai, which, when you come to do your free fighting, yeah, ashibarai is quite common. Yeah, so you need to learn 2 ways of doing an ashibarai. Yeah, okay. So ashibarai, you know, best is to try and, when you're practicing, you've got their weight, you've got their kazushi going back, and to actually do the ashibarai, and to move them in a position when they can't retaliate. Well, they can, but you are in there. You've actually destroyed them. Yeah. If you are of a slight build and you can't take this, the other way to practice is to actually just make sure it's a distraction. It's a tap up. Yeah. So you get them to think the attack's going down there, but in fact you're going into another direction, another distance. You know. Yeah. Another technique. So it can be used as a tap and a distraction, and to get their mind to just drop to where they've been hit, just for that split second to allow you to go in for the next technique. So it doesn't have to be a full-forced ashibarai. If you're practicing, also a decoy. And you see a lot of people, you know, touch and then moshigeri, or you know, touch and gakuzuki or junzuki, just to distract their mind. Yeah. So that's something else to practice for your ashibarai.
So from Uke's point of view with Ohyo No.1, in a previous video I mentioned intent, and this really comes into play with this Ohyo. If Tori is making no intent in the attack and is not making good distance, there's no real reason for you to go back. So if Tori is really focusing in Kime and making correct distance, you will want to move back. The second part of this is the threat of the punch. So you're making the guarding action and taking your centre back a little bit. And that's what they're hoping for to play for the ashibarai. If you're fully rooted and you don't think this punch is coming and you're not bothered, you're going to be square in your base. So it's going to be very difficult for them to sweep you. But if they're really committed to this and you go back and you get the weight onto the back foot, then their sweep will be much easier. So if Tori and you're practicing, you want to help your partner, if they're not making distance and there's no intent, you're not feeling any sense of threat and you don't wish to move away from it, then they really do need to work on that. I think these were written to help with Jiyu Kumite, free fighting. So, with Jiyu Kumite, you've got to give your opponent a reason to want to get out of the way, to want to get out a move. And if there's no threat there, they're not going to do that. I think Sensei, in the beginning of the video, mentioned this concept of karate ni sentenashi. There is no first strike in karate. This is quite a sort of strong debate that's gone on in the karate world for many years, and a lot of the old Okinawan masters thought that people had got the wrong idea of this, that under no circumstances do you make the first strike. At the dojo I train in Evesham, we practice by people standing behind you, and sometimes standing behind you with a katana. So you try and tune in to their mental intent. And this ties in with the concept of sen no sen. With sen no sen, the idea is you pick up on the mental intent to attack and you beat them to it. So they have technically made the first attack. It's just that the signal hasn't reached from there to there. With your training and experience, then you can make that attack before that signal is enacted. And this ties into this Ohyo. If there's no intent there, then there's no reason for you to tune into that movement and respond to it. So it's quite a complicated subject, karate ni sentenashi. And some of the old Okinawan masters sort of argued that you have a responsibility as a martial artist to your family, to your friends, to your community. So if you see a member of your family or community under attack, then as far as the old Okinawan masters was concerned, you're within your rights to intervene and maybe make an attack to prevent this aggressive action by somebody else. So quite a complicated subject. If you've got time, go away, research it yourself on the internet. There's plenty of good information. But the big thing is commitment, intent and distance. If Uke and Tori have got no reason to interact, it's not going to work in this situation.
So, in conclusion, you have to commit to the attack. There's no ifs, a doubt about it. You must attack. If you don't have that, then you will be taken out. Number one and number two, it's learning how to do ashibarai. Ashibarai does not have to be a full forced taking their leg and taking their body. It can be a tap, just to get their mind off you. A tap, and you can't help it, but you think down here. So while they're thinking tap, then you've done the gakuzuki or the mashigeri or whatever technique was going to go in there. Yeah, so you can practice touch attack, or a full forced ashibarai to move them. It depends what stance they're in, what weight they are. Yeah, but obviously these are things that you can practice in your free fighting, yeah, and your sparring in the club. So enjoy.